Hi everyone, welcome back to my series on setting up a Ubuntu web server. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to set up your router to accept connections so that you're going to be able to serve a website to the public. So in order to do that, you're first going to need to have a static IP, which you will need to get from your internet service provider. Any internet service provider will lease out static IPs for a monthly charge. So you'll go and talk to your whoever it is you get your internet through and ask them about leasing a static IP. And once you talk to your internet service provider, they will send you the information that you will need, and I will show you how to enter it into your router to accept the connections. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to log into our router. If you haven't done anything before to the router, whatever manufacturer made your router, they will set up the router with a default username and password. So look in the documentation for that username and password, and we're going to change it. So usually to log in, you open up a browser and it'll either be 192.168.0.1 or 192.168.1.1. So it will tell you in the documentation. So for the first time, you enter whatever the username is and whatever the default password is. Just look in your documentation for that and then log in. Once you log in, you're going to want to change the username and or the password. On mine, I can't change the username, but I can change the password. So mine is under administration. I know this might not be the same as your router, but there will be a place in the control panel where you're going to be able to change the password. So you just want to put in the old password and then put in the new password, and this will change it to whatever it is you like. Now you might be able to change the idle time. On mine, I can leave it, if it's idle for 10 minutes, then it will automatically log you out. So you can change it to however long you want to have for the idle time. And once you do that, you save the changes. Now, one thing that we're going to do is, in order for this to work, we're going to give each of the computers, we're going to give it a DHCP reservation. So usually when your devices connect, it will use a DHCP way to connect to each device. So you don't have to do the reservation for all the devices, but just for some of them. And for the web server, you're going to want to do the DHCP reservation because later on we're going to do some port forwarding. So you want to have the computer set up with it's basically setting it up with a static IP address. You can set up your web server to do the static IPs, but I find this is the easiest way to assign an IP address because it will use the MAC address for the web server and it will automatically assign the whatever reservation you send to it. So if you want to know how to set it up on the web server, let me know and I can go through it and I'll show you how to set it up on that end. But like I say, this is just the easiest. So on mine, you go DHCP reservation and it brings up all the lists of what is connected to the system right now. And as you can see, if you remember earlier on, we had set up the host name for the computer. And I explained that that was because it would make it easier in finding your system, your computer on the local area network. And this is why, because now I know that I had set it up as Ferdia host, and it tells you what the IP address is right here and the MAC address. So if you want to reserve this connection for it, I just click on add. It says success, and then you can also do that for any of the other devices that you want, but I'm just going to be setting it up for this computer because it's the only one I'm going to be sending. I'm going to do port forwarding to. Later on, I might set it up as a DMZ, but that's going to be a totally different video. I'm just setting this up as a port forwarding right now, so that's why I'm doing it this way. So once you do that, you want to save the changes, and you just wait for it to. Okay. Once you've done that, you can go to set up um, your WAN information. And on my system, you go into this WAN setup, and I had to change this to assign the WAN IP manually, and I enabled that. If you disabled it, then it would just take the DHCP IP address. But because I have the static IP, this is all the information from my internet service provider that I said that you would need, and they should be able to give this information to you, because you're going to need to know what your um, public IP address is, and you enter that. You're going to need your subnet mask, your gateway IP address, and then they will give you a primary and a secondary DNS servers. So this is all the information you'll get from them once you have it. Now, you also want to, on my router, there's a DNS portion to it, which is basically, I set it to DNS obtain manual, and the DNS1 and DNS2 are the servers that they sent to you. So you just enter those and you save the changes. Now, there is going to be a place where you can do port forwarding, and that is once you have your WAN and your public IP address entered into the system, you, in order to allow this through your firewall, you want to be able to forward from your public IP to your private IP. And if you remember, I will show you how easy it is to do this. And all you want to do is, all this is doing is that when the request comes in, you're basically telling it, your router, to send it to a certain computer. And so you want to add the rule. And if you come up here, you just go down and you find whatever service it is that you want to forward. So mine, I'm going to forward the HTTP, and the protocol is TCP, and port 80, and on mine it's going to be port 80 and port 80 again, and the local IP address is going to be the 192.168.0.10. And so that all that's doing is saying that whatever comes through for HTTP on port 80 on your public IP address, it's going to forward that to the whatever local IP address is here, and it'll allow it from any IP address. So now I'm also going to set up HTTPS, which is going to be port 443, and the IP address is the same. And then when you finish putting in all the whatever rules you want to send to the computer, then all you do is hit save. Now, you probably noticed that I'm not going to be putting in SSH, and that is because I'm not going to allow public connections to SSH. Basically, anything outside of my local network or my private network, I'm not going to allow connections to SSH. So I'm not even going to let my router forward that to anything on my computer systems. If you want to be able to access the computer from over the public internet, then you're just going to go in and put in, you can select the SSH, and then you put in port 22, and then you enter the IP address where you want to send it, and hit apply. But like I say, I'm not going to make mine accessible once I set it up. I'm not going to make it accessible from the public internet, and partly that's because I know I'm not going to be connecting to it from anything outside of my private network. So once you've done that, once you set that up, you hit save changes. Now, I know this doesn't really concern setting up a web server, but while you're in here, you can set up your wireless. So if you want to set up your wireless now, go into your wireless and set up for each of the bands. Later on, I'm going to set up the guest Wi-Fi. So I'm going to change some things around to make it a little bit more secure. But like I say, I'm going to cover that in one of the videos on security. So we're going to come back to being able to set that up. Now, if you want to go into your security, you can set up port blocking. You can block certain ports if you want. Like I say, I'll go into this more into the security end of it in the later videos. So right now I'm just showing you how to get everything set up. So we'll just confirm that everything is set up. So you can see here it's DHCP reserved for this computer, and that's the computer I'm going to be hosting from. Once you have that set up, that's all that we really need to do right now. So this is a very easy video and a short video. So if there's anything else you would like to know about setting up your router, let me know. Later on, I might go into setting up a DMZ, and I'll show you how to make your Wi-Fi a little bit more secure. So for now, that's all we're going to cover in this video. If there's anything else that you would like me to go over, please let me know, and I can make another video and add on to this. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.